Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spirituality and Business Interview Series. I am here with the fantastic Sue Susnik. Sue helps intelligent people to uncover and release emotional, spiritual, and energy blocks so that they can get what they really want to be doing and be happy while doing it. I'm so excited to have her here today and share her experiences with you. So, Sue, would you like to say anything to introduce yourself?
Well, hi, Zach, and it's really lovely to be here. Thank you so much for your warm welcome and your warm introduction. That's great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about your spiritual path?
A little bit about my spiritual path. Well, I'll go back to when I was a teenager, because spiritual paths often start for people when they're teenagers, that kind of like switching on a thing.
Yeah, I know.
And I wasn't, I was a seeker. Now that's kind of how I call myself. So I was looking for something. There were questions that I couldn't find answers for. So I was really looking for something. And I remember being like really involved in this process of searching. So when I went to university, I kind of tried things on for size. So I tried on the Christian Union for size, and I kind of realized that just didn't really fit. For some reason, I couldn't make the leap of faith that other people could. Oh. And so I just thought, well, that just doesn't work for me. Okay, let's just carry on looking, because I'm looking for something. And then I came across Buddhism when I was 19.
Wow.
And I found a book in a gift shop.
Oh, wow.
It was all about Buddhism for sheep. It's a really good little cartoon book.
Nice.
And that got me started really looking into Buddhism. And this was, let's say it was 1998, 99. So this was the early internet. Yeah. Where like flashing text was a novelty. Do you remember those days?
I do.
So I was looking on the internet as much as it was those days to find out about Buddhism and reading about it. And I found a local Buddhist community in Cambridge where I was at university. So I started going on there and learned to meditate and learned about Buddhism and the Dharma. And that kind of carried on. That became my kind of home for 15, nearly 20 years, the True Ratna Buddhist community. And then about 6 years ago, let's go back to about 10 years ago, I started having a spiritual awakening thing. So intuitive processes started coming online. Wow. Psychic sensitivity started coming on. And so I was just like, oh, crikey, I need to figure out what's going on here. And I would talk to this person, they'd give me a bit of information, talk to that person, they'd give me some information. And one person that I met on that journey, a woman called Mary Heichel Hunt, she kind of said like shaman to me and that was the first time I'd heard the word. I was like, wow, I think maybe I need to go and look that up. So I went and looked that up, and a friend who was also quite intuitive, she was like raving about this podcast called Why Shamanism Now. So I went and listened to loads of episodes of that, and the path kind of folded on. So I went into looking at shamanism, and then in the last year or so, I've been going through an inquiry process with Liberation Unleashed, and then through a group called the 10 Fetters. This is really detailed, but there's kind of a lot in there. It's like, and that inquiry process is to really look into your experience and what is your experience and what's going on in it. And along the way, there's been a lot of reconciling the different parts. Yeah. Starting through studying physics, then Buddhism, then shamanism, and then inquiry. And it's like, how do all these things fit together? That's a kind of slightly more than a rough outline of my path.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. And I know you commented on how it was a bit in depth, but I think that that's absolutely wonderful. And so many people have paths that are very winding, and sharing like the ways that your path went from one point to the other, that it wasn't just I started here and I found this and that was it. I think that's really helpful because I think a lot of people nowadays can relate to that, can relate to like they start in one place and then they go somewhere else and then they go somewhere else. And it's really helpful to have other people share that that's been their journey.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. You're absolutely right. And one of the key things that I look back on in my journey is the conversations that I had with individuals,
Yeah.
And it was like they just opened up doorways.
Yeah.
I was going through an experience and talked through it with a friend, and they said, "Oh, I think it's this. You need to look at that."
Yeah.
And so it's like people were passing me from one to another to get me to where I then needed to go. And it's not the only route I could have taken. I'm sure there are others, but that was a really big feature of it, just how much support I got from people and how much direction.
And I think that's really beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I know some people, they are hesitant starting on the spiritual path because they're afraid of losing support. And so hearing about how the support like came to you and it was part of the unfolding journey, that's really helpful.
Yeah, thank you. I'd say if somebody's really resonating to this part of the story, listening to it, is like learn to watch out for your own signals and your own responses to, like, oh, I think I need to go this way. I need to go into this shop. I need to look at this bookshelf.
Yes.
I need to look at my friends' books. I need to ask them about the film they've seen. Pay attention to those signs and symptoms, as it were, because they're the ones that are kind of helping you go where you need to be.
Yes, absolutely. Often the small little nudges that we don't think anything of, they can lead us to the biggest discoveries. So thank you very much for mentioning that. That's really helpful. So I know you talked about how you've gone from path to path. How have you been able to kind of reconcile the different paths as you continued on this journey?
One of the things with reconciling paths is, first of all, you have to think of them as separate things. So reconciling them has not been so much bringing them together as kind of removing the osmotic barrier between them. And they can look like they're very, very far apart things, but when you really look at them and you see they're actually like, a fag paper thickness apart.
Oh, wow.
So for me, reconciling things has been just seeing how similar they are. So with starting off in physics and engineering, I've definitely got a mind which leads towards, how does this work? How does it fit together? And also, how can I improve it? That's kind of where I go. That's like my engineer. And so Buddhism, it teaches like the path towards the end of suffering. So that's all about, how does suffering work? How does it fit together? And how can you improve things? It kind of all fits in there. And that's not to make Buddhism into science or into engineering, but it's to say they're very similar things from very different angles. And then the same with shamanism. And I just want to say that it's not been this easy to talk about how it's been reconciled for at least about 10 years. For 10 years, this has been like a big battle. It's like, how do I bring these things together? And it's just kind of come together in the last while. So kind of seeing me after the reconciliation. Very easy, simple. And shamanism is the way that I see it, which is not necessarily the way other people would see it. And also, I use shamanism as a label because it means that other people can find it. But I really hesitate to call myself a shamanic practitioner or a shaman, because I don't feel I have deserved those titles because of where they come from. So it's an awkward area with that word. That's probably something else to reconcile at some point. Shamanism, to me, gives us a way of understanding how energy works and how energy operates in a particular way in the world. So then when you kind of look back at physics or engineering, which is where I've come from, you can kind of go, well, they're talking about physical energy, and they're talking about, like, the electromagnetic spectrum and magnetism and the Earth's polarity and all those kinds of things. It's like, okay, and that's how that's explained, and it's all nice and engineering. Lovely job, make calculations, brilliant, fantastic. Do a spreadsheet, excellent. And then you come into shamanism, and it's all about, how do energies work between people? Where do these energies come from? How do they develop? How do you enhance them? How do you reduce them? How do you divert them, transform them, cultivate them? So really, to me, there's very little difference between like understanding and using and following energies in the two different realms of physics engineering and more shamanic areas, more energy work areas. And that's kind of why I sort of lightheartedly but seriously bunged the two together. And so I call my work emotional plumbing, because it really just sort of fits together in a way, this sort of engineering and the emotions and the energies and so on. And it's like, well, I'm just going to call it how I approach it, which is emotional plumbing. That's what I do.
Absolutely, and it's really fantastic that you made the point of how you can reconcile spirituality even with science, because there are a lot of people who think, oh, they're so separate, you can't possibly. But no, I've found that as well, that the more I understand science, like, it feeds into the spirituality and vice versa.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, they're so close together.
Yeah, they are. Just different ways to describe what's around us.
Exactly. That is as simple as it gets, actually. It's just describing what is there, and it maybe has a different focus. It's like physics describes this and spirituality describes that, but it's the same principles of like observe what's there in your experience. Just what is there and what's it doing and how does it do that, and that's the same in both camps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also really appreciate you making the point that it took you so long to reconcile the things, that it's not like you just woke up one day and understood it, because like when
I'm just gonna go like this. It took so long. It drove me nuts.
Oh, it does. I know. Yeah. I absolutely understand, and like it's really easy when you come out the other end and now understand it to just talk casually about it, but a lot of people are in that frustrated trying to figure out place. And so the reminder that it's not a straightforward journey, it takes time.
Yeah, absolutely, and rooting out everything that you think that it is. So even like I said at the beginning, where you have the two and you think that they're separate, you think you've got two separate things, really just look at, how are you thinking about science, how are you thinking about spirituality, what is everything in those two different compartments, and really be clear about what you're thinking, because you might find that you're having a thought and then you're just like, that's nonsense. And suddenly they get a little bit closer together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So in what ways has your spiritual path made growing your business different from more mainstream business advice? Like, have you noticed a difference?
Have I noticed a difference? I love this question, and it really confounds me at the same time, because I've never done like a normal business. Well, I kind of have. Like, I tutored maths for a while, and that counts as a business. And I did some translation work for a while, and that's also like a business. But they were very short-lived, and they were kind of like more just doing projects and delivering them. And what I found with spirituality and business, and basing a business around what you could call my spiritual gifts or spiritual abilities, is that it shifts and it moves. And that too has been really frustrating. Like, I kind of think I know what I do and how to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, I have no clue. And then when it comes to doing things like marketing and telling people and communicating to people about it, I was just like, no, sorry. Last week it was this, but now it's changed. And I need to rewrite everything and get back to me in a couple of weeks. But then it'll probably be different again. So, bother it, basically. Well, sort of, has been in the journey, as it were. So that was kind of like the difficult side of it. What has really helped, and I mentioned this to you before when we were doing a little off-camera introductions, is in the last few months I've got involved with a program run for spiritual entrepreneurs, run for spiritual businesses, which is called Heart of Business, and it's run by a chap called Mark Silver, who comes from the Sufi tradition, which is not my tradition and it's not my background at all. but the way that he approaches spirituality and business as practices has really revolutionized how I operate in my business, and being able to communicate with my business energetically. It's kind of obvious in retrospect being an energy worker. But until somebody pointed out to me, like, hey, you can talk to your business and you can ask it what it needs and what you can do for it and what it can do for you. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, wow. So, and that's amazing, because now it kind of feels like, I have to be careful with my words here. It's not quite the right words, but it feels like I have a boss, you know, because I can talk to my business and I can say like, hey, what do you need me to do? It'll say, I need you to do this. I'll be like, okay, cool, I can do that. And it just takes so much pressure off my shoulders and having to decide and stuff. It's really incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just noticed you're flooded with sunlight. Are you?
Yeah, it was raining and the sun came out, and because it was raining all day, I didn't think to close the blinds.
Yeah. Do you need to do that? Do you need to do that to be comfortable?
Yeah, I should be able to pause. We're back. All right, so we were talking about communicating energetically with your business, and that absolutely seems like it's a pretty revolutionary idea for spiritual entrepreneurs, to be able to incorporate like the energetic work with our business itself, like as an entity.
It's been revolutionary, transformative, all those things. It's been a real game changer. Yeah, it really has.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I don't think I've heard of people talking about that before, so I'm really happy to hear about that and to be able to share it in this space. So yeah, that's really fantastic.
Great, that's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you say that your top 2 challenges have been as an entrepreneur who's also spiritual?
Spoons. So spoons is spoon theory. And if you've not come across spoon theory before, it's this theory that you have a certain number of spoons every day, which represents your energy levels or whatever. Some people call them spell slots. I'm not a gamer, but
I've never heard that. I like that. That's neat.
That's a really good one, because you can have different levels of spell slots as well. And I'm so far out of my own territory here, but my understanding of it is that like less challenging things you can do with like easy spell slots, and more challenging things you can do with difficult spell slots. And use up all your difficult spell slots to do other things. It's accounting spell slots and spoons. Totally, I'm really not in my comfort zone. Yeah. So spoons.
Game theory.
I'm sure you can look it up, and the people watching, you can go and look this up. You'll find it. Spoon theory. So for me, spoons. Because spiritual growth and spiritual progress and running a business, you grow as a person running a business. And in the time since I set up my business 4.5 years ago, I've resettled in a new country. So I grew up in England, and then 4.5 years ago, I moved to the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
So new language, new culture, similar in some ways. It's still European, but it's otherwise different, totally new way of life sort of thing. And a few months after setting up my business, I also became pregnant with our first child.
Wow.
So the last 4.5 years, and business and spoons is just like, has been critical. Just like, what have I got the energy for? What can I actually achieve? What can I do? What can I get done? And looking at how much do I need to be able to function in my family? How much do I need to be a mom? How much do I need to be a spiritual practitioner and to be effective with my clients? And keeping your eye on that. And when you've got your own spiritual process going, that can also take you spoons.
Yeah.
You know,
it absolutely.
You go through some kind of transformation or some kind of experience, and then you're just like on the sofa for 2 days. It's just like, wow. Absolutely. So spoons and recharging your cutlery drawer it's one of the biggest challenges as a spiritual practitioner or entrepreneur. Second biggest challenge would be, I should know this already because you sent me the questions in advance. I should have thought about it before, but I kind of work more intuitively in the spur of the moment, and things generally arise at the right time for them. Planning, that's what the second challenge is. Planning. I knew I was going somewhere with that. Planning. I used to be like pretty good at planning, in the sense that I could make really good plans, and then I would never follow them.
Oh.
So, and this is also been there since my teenage years. I remember making the most beautiful coloured revision timetables, and then I'd just throw them out the window and not do them. So planning is actually, I find that really hard to do. And so whenever somebody talks to me about like a content calendar or something, I was like, whoa, crikey, we can't do that. Because I really just sort of go with, what do I want to say today? What needs to be said today? And so that's one thing that I do find that I struggle with. And I'm not sure if that's because I'm a spiritual practitioner or if that's just because that's how I work. Mm-hmm. But it certainly has an effect, because if you plan to do something, mm-hmm. and then you have a spiritual process go on which wipes out your spoons, then your planning is all out of kilter. Yeah. So it's kind of like two aspects of the same problem. Yeah. It's kind of, you learn to live with it, you learn to work with it. And now that me and my business are kind of like good mates, it's a lot easier, because sometimes I ask my business, like, what should I be doing now? What do you need me to do now? And it goes, rest. I'm like, okay, I'll go do that.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I really love the idea of energetically communicating with your business, because I do think the planning thing is, at least for certain paths related to spirituality, it might be a shamanic thing, depending on your definition of shamanism. And because that's something that I've experienced as well. Like, I can make a plan and then I get a really strong intuitive hit, and I pretty much have to go with the intuition. That's actually what this interview series is. I asked my mentor, I asked a few of my friends for advice about whether or not this was worth doing, and they all agreed, no, you shouldn't do it right now. It's not what you should be focusing on. Intuition said otherwise. Here we are.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect example. And I'm really glad it's not just me.
It's not. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that story as well. Lovely.
Yeah. And also, thank you for sharing about the issue with spoons. And that is something I'm familiar with. It was first came up with in the chronic illness community, but it applies to so many different people. And this is a problem that a lot of entrepreneurs face, and it's something that I have to talk my clients through a lot, because we have this idea of an entrepreneur as someone who devotes 100 hours a week, nose to the grindstone, and if you don't do that, then you'll fail. But that's not true at all. You don't have to give every ounce of your being to your business, and it can actually be more powerful for your business when you set really strict schedules with it and devote time to self-care.
Absolutely. And that goes so much in the face of what we hear about hustle, and what we hear about, everything's about the hustle and things. It's like, no, it really can't be. No, it really can't be. And I think there's a middle ground with being proactive, mm-hmm. and getting things out there, and also being receptive and acknowledging what's coming towards you and the input that's coming your way. And I think that's our challenge as entrepreneurs, with the spiritual bends, is finding that balance, finding that middle ground between sort of the pushing and receiving kind of modes of action. Yeah, absolutely. I've recently read something that basically talked about how you can't rush it, but you also can't delay it. It's really about finding the right pace. But yeah, also a lot of entrepreneurs, we have lives, we have families, we have health that is not always perfect. We have things that come up, and our business needs to fit into our lives. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very well said.
Thank you. So looking back at your business, what's something that you would do differently?
Take Mark Silver's course 4 years ago. which is impossible because he's developed it 3 times, so it's only now that he's launched it as this learning community. But it's really been such an eye-opener, such a different way of working, and I really get the impression that he's somebody who's been there and done it and gone through it and knows it and has seen so many people go through it, and now he's made these resources available. And I'm not an affiliate, I'm not like on commission, in case you're wondering about that. I just love it, and I think it's been so transformative for me and my business. Mm-hmm. And I'd love more people to know about it, and to be able to access these tools and resources. It's been fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, and thank you for mentioning that you're not an affiliate, because I'm sure that some people watching would be wondering.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Yeah, like if they fancy bunging some cash my way for having been so useful and helpful, then I'm totally open to that. That's cool. But just let's be transparent about this.
Yeah, but this what you're saying about the course, this is actually something that I think is really helpful for entrepreneurs to know, because you are like a raving fan of that business, and one of the most powerful things that we can do in growing our business is to work with people we're really aligned with and deliver really great value to create people like you who will go out and just shout from the rooftops, "Oh my gosh, this changed my life." You know, like it's
absolutely.
Yeah, sharing value, it's helps.
Yeah, it really does, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That's really what we're aiming to create, because the only way that comes about, the only way that you get raving fans, other than like totally brainwashing people you're not into, is by doing a really good thing that actually works for people. So
exactly, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us, and for being a great example of the importance of creating a business that you really feel good about and that really helps people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know on your site you have something that I'm actually really curious to hear more about, but the top 10 do-it-yourself tips for emotional plumbing. Like,
so the top 10 tips. So emotional plumbing, as I mentioned, is the way that I work. And really, if you think about what a plumber does when they come to your house, they can do all sorts. They fix the leaks, they repair your drain pipes, they connect your taps up to where they need to be connected up to, all that kind of thing. And that's basically what I do energetically with people. What a plumber is not going to do is like take the lime scale off your taps. You know, if you hire a plumber to take the lime scale off your taps, it's just like, or do I need to be saying faucets here?
That's we have an international audience.
Lovely job. You're not going to be hiring a plumber to sort out the scale or to give your taps a clean kind of thing, or your shower head. You're going to do that yourself. So what I've put together, what I think are just like really straightforward ways that you can help your own emotional plumbing stay in good shape and like clear stuff out, keep it in good nick by not kind of blocking up your emotions along the way. And also, the words are coming, but slowly. When things are coming through your system, to just like not block them. So I work with a model where your emotions pass through your system, and they are like messengers. They tell you things along the way. Mm-hmm. And if you don't listen to the messages, if you don't listen to what they're telling you, then they just get stuck and they hang around because they're just like waiting for you to open the parcel kind of thing. And they then get stored in your body, and that's the scientific explanation of trauma is emotional experience that is held in the body. So it's really fascinating how science and spirituality are kind of like, science and spiritual practices are coming closer together with people exploring trauma and yoga, and also working from a kind of energy worker, energy plumber kind of direction. The top 10 tips is there and available for people who want to do a bit of DIY plumbing, keep their system in good condition, and so on. So to get that, you can go to my website and sign up for my email list, and then you get the top 10 tips as a bonus for signing up and hearing from me about what's going on in the world with emotional plumbing.
And the link to that is below this video, so you can find that very easily. It's very valuable to have. I really love your take on spiritual work and inner work and emotional plumbing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before we finish up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today?
Just if you're on a spiritual path, just keep going.
Wise words.
Just keep going.
Wise words. That is a really good way of putting it. Yes, absolutely. Just keep going. Yeah, so thank you so much for taking the time out today to share all of that with us. It was so valuable and so helpful, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for watching this and being a part of this series and this journey.
Thanks very much, Zach.
Absolutely. What a fantastic.